Chapter 6: The Revolutionary Action Movement (MAR). In the early 1970s, several armed organizations made their appearance on the national political scene, largely fueled by a variety of factors, among them the increasingly precarious socioeconomic situation of the working classes, the political closure of democratic spaces, and popularly elected positions that, for decades, the Institutional Revolutionary Party had held. At the same time, one of the most violent actions in Mexico's history took place in the country. We are talking about the repression of the university student sector, which ended in the massacre of October 2, 1968. In this context of popular unrest, various urban sectors, mainly university students, found the answer to the problems afflicting the country in political training, organization, and arms. Their ideology was aimed at transforming the bourgeois and nationalist state into a socialist state, taking as a reference the Cuban and Soviet experiences. There was a great variety of groups that were formed in the capital of the country, such as the Zapatista Urban Front, FUC, the Armed Commandos of the People, CAP, or the Lacandones, in addition to other organizations that emerged in different states of the Republic. Among the most outstanding groups due to its peculiarities is the Revolutionary Action Movement, MAR. The decade of the 1960s was undoubtedly a period of social and political effervescence. Michoacán did not go unnoticed because since 1966, the students of the Nicolaita University had mobilized against state intervention in the decisions of the student community and the increase in the public transportation fares. In 1967, a group of young people from Michoacán who received a scholarship from the People's Friendship University, Patricio Lumumba in the Soviet Union, came to the conclusion after many political discussions that the transformation of the country could only be achieved through armed action. Among them were Fabricio Gómez, Alejandro López, Camilo Estrada, and Leonardo Mendoza. In the last days of December 1968, they began a journey through various embassies on Soviet territory, the Chinese, Algerian, and Cuban embassies, and the USSR headquarters. However, the embassies closed their doors to any kind of initiative that sounded like military training due to the diplomatic relations those countries had with Mexico. Granting military training by any of these nations would represent a diplomatic conflict. Fortunately for the young Mexicans, the North Korean embassy became interested in their political project, supported them economically, and gave them political military instruction to undertake a second revolution in Mexico. Thus, in the first days of February 1969, the group composed of Fabricio Gómez, Alejandro López, Camilo Estrada, Salvador Castañeda, Dimas Castañeda, Octavio Márquez, Candelario Pacheco, Paulino Peña, Marta Maldonado, and Eufemio González began the training that would last at least half a year, where they would learn shooting, explosive handling, the use of radio transmitters, and political training, culture and history of the North Korean people, and self-defense. At the end of the training, an agreement was reached with the North Korean government for the training of future cadres who would join the armed conflict. Upon arrival in Mexico, they quickly put into practice the knowledge they had acquired. They structured the organization which would be centralist, democratic, and with responsibilities to the heads of the groups that made up the structure, among which were a group for recruitment, one for exploration, one for the collection of resources, and one for education. The MAR divided the country into different zones since the need to generate guerrilla groups throughout the national territory was proposed as follows. Support bases and guerrilla groups. In the north, Sonora, Chihuahua, Sinaloa, and Durango. In the south, Guerrero, Oaxaca, and Chiapas. The safe houses would be located in Mexico City, Puebla, Querétaro, and Michoacán. The training centers in Pátzcuaro, Michoacán, Irapuato, and Salamanca in Guanajuato, and Jalapa in Veracruz. By the second half of 1970, there were about 50 militants who had returned from North Korea with specialized training. The primary need was to find economic resources. On December 18, 1970, the guerrilla group carried out its first act of expropriation of the Bank of Commerce of Morelia, where they managed to recover at least $84,000 for financing. However, the training and sacrifice of the MAR youths were frustrated in February 1971 when one of the organization's schools for cadres located in Jalapa, Veracruz was discovered by the police, and from February 16 to 27, 19 members of the MAR were captured, among them Fabricio Gomez and Rogelio Raya. In the following months, more members would be caught by the Mexican state, which would harshly detain, torture, and in some cases disappear them. This would be a heavy blow for the guerrilla group, as they would not fully recover and would eventually disappear. In the next chapter, we will talk about other important guerrilla movements that were formed in the second half of the 20th century. If you want to have an overview of the guerrilla movement in Mexico, click on the link that we will leave in the description, where we talk in more detail about this topic of vital importance to understand a forgotten fragment of the history of Mexico. If you are keen, like and subscribe, and share it with someone who is interested in the subject. Our project is created by students, and to maintain this work we need your help for editing, microphones, headphones, and translation of the scripts. If you want to support us, you can do so by making a donation through PayPal.